So this is my video reflection on our new media and education portfolio and how I thought it went going into a grade 4 class and actually helping them build a website. So the way it worked was we had between 1 and 2 students. My biggest, we'll start with my biggest criticism was that I'm a huge advocate of the best way to learn technology and to learn new skills is to simply try it yourself. See how it goes and then ask for help when you get stuck with something. So I found that when I had 2 students, this process went a little bit more smoothly, whereas when I had 1 student, there was more pressure to always be helping them, always pushing them to try something, or giving them advice on how to do certain things. That being said, I think some of that was individual differences in my students as well. When I was just one-on-one, just personally that student liked to have a little bit more freedom. She liked to try things on her own. So I would have, from a personal standpoint, I felt things went a little bit more smoothly. It gave them a little more time to experiment when it was 2-on-1 as opposed to 1-on-1. But regardless, I felt that this was a great way to still give students a chance to tackle a fairly large project. And it allowed them that freedom. They could try something, they could experiment and not be scared to fail, because they knew there would always be someone there to help them. If they got stuck or they weren't sure what to do, they could always just ask for help. So that was, I would have preferred it always being 2-on-1, but that's a quite minor thing. As an educator, the biggest things I picked up on were it was great to sit down 1-on-1, 1-on-2 with the student and see how they pick things up. Especially with the students I had being very different levels, different backgrounds, just seeing how they learned, seeing how they picked up different technologies, seeing what they retained, what they needed more help with, what went really easily for them. There were definitely some similarities between all of the students, and just seeing those trends was hugely, hugely helpful. I also found from the teacher's perspective, it was great to see all the options that were available. There are tons of different programs out there. We use lots of them that are free. They're really simple to use, simple enough for a young student to take and tackle on their own. Obviously, they need a little bit of help and support, or we wouldn't have been there, but still really geared towards even young kids. They were still simple enough that they could understand them and use them. And some of my students had heavy topics, and I found towards the end, after they became more familiar with all the programs, they knew what they were doing, they knew how to add stuff. One of my biggest roles ended up being just helping them with visual appeal, making sure everything looked nice, and trying to decipher some of this heavy information. One of the biggest sources always comes up, and there were lots of kid-friendly ones, but there's so much information out there that's not geared towards a grade 4 reading level. So just being there to decipher that was a huge, huge part of it once they got more familiar with the technologies. Like I said, the first little bit was me helping them, and then I found that just putting that information in and helping it was, they picked up on it so quickly. That was one of the biggest things I had to do, and that was great to see that they could handle that on their own. With an introduction, they were able to pick it up and take that and run with it. So, and it was great to see as a teacher too, you can do something like this. There's options. It doesn't have to be you trying to do this with 30 kids. There's ways you can go around this. There's people who want to help, and these kids can now go do this on their own if they wanted to. They seemed pretty excited about it, so it was great to see them engaged. And I think some of that was, it was an intimidating project, especially for grade 4 classroom. Build your own website, put information on it. We're going to share this with the class, with the rest of the school. Other kids can go on here and take information they need for their projects. That's a big final project to have done, but having that assistance seemed to really help them along, and that seemed to be a great motivator too. They know that they're sharing this with the other classes, with their peers, and so they get to create this great final project that they put a lot of work into, they put a lot of effort into, and they really seem to respond well to that, and having the support there to take something, try something new, and turn out something that they're proud of at the end. It was great to see how they reacted to all this, and so I felt it was both very beneficial to the students, and as me as a future educator, it was going into some other practicums, going into teaching. It was just really helpful for my own knowledge. So.